All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really thrilling adventure. We're talking a high-stakes race, a fiercely hungry wolf, and the sheer incredible power of teamwork. We are going to break down a classic tale of rivalry and survival, and as you'll see, it reveals exactly what happens when selfish ambition entirely blinds us to the dangers lurking right there in the bushes. So, picture this. Our story kicks off with three little rabbits just wandering through the forest. Suddenly, they stumble upon an absolute treasure. We're talking a massive, mouth-watering giant carrot. But instead of celebrating together, a fierce argument erupts. I saw it first. No, I saw it. This carrot is mine. You know exactly how it goes. To settle this bitter bickering over who rightfully claims the prize, they come up with a plan, a grand race to the furthest part of the woods. Now, because they just couldn't decide which specific skill to test, since one's a great runner, another's an amazing jumper, and so on, they agree on what is essentially a multi-stage forest triathlon. Running at 1, jumping at 2, swimming at 3. But here is the major complication they missed. They had absolutely no idea that Jack, the big bad wolf, was furiously hungry, hiding in the nearby bushes, and actively plotting to swallow all three of them at the exact same time.
That brings us right to Trial 1, Surviving the Deep Pit.
The running race officially kicks off along this winding forest path, totally setting our oblivious competitors on a direct collision course with danger. The second Jack figures out their route, he sprints ahead to prepare a nasty surprise. Step 1, he digs this massive hole right in the middle of the path. Step 2, he carefully camouflages the whole thing with leaves. And step 3, he just steps back into the shadows, greedily waiting for his three-course meal to fall right in.
And Jack is practically drooling with villainous overconfidence here. He's standing there boldly declaring, "No rabbit can escape from my traps." It is just a classic textbook case of counting your bunnies before they hatch, right before the totally oblivious racers actually arrive on the scene.
Well, the rabbits come tearing down the path in an absolute dead sprint. They're running so incredibly fast, just rushing past one another in a total blur, that they literally zip right over the fragile leaves covering the pit. I mean, they don't even drop an inch. All they leave behind is this huge cloud of dust and a very confused, very hungry wolf staring blankly at his perfectly intact trap. Totally baffled as to why his trap failed, Jack walks up to the leaves. He takes one cautious jump, nothing. He takes a second jump, still nothing. But on jump number 3, boom. He hilariously plummets straight down into his own deep pit. It's a perfect example of an architect being defeated by his own design.
Which leads us directly into Trial 2, the Sticky Swamp Sabotage.
So while Jack is struggling to claw his way out of that pit, the rabbits actually pause because one of them gets a painful thorn stuck in her foot. And this unexpected delay, it gives Jack the perfect opportunity to strike again through textbook sabotage. That is, deliberately destroying or obstructing something for personal advantage. He maliciously rotates the wooden directional signs on the path to point straight into a dark, dangerous swamp, instead of toward the carrot. Jack goes to absolute extremes to prepare this swamp trap. He actually braves a beehive just to steal their honey, slathers that ultra-sticky honey all over a prominent rock, and eagerly waits in the muck for the confused, jumping bunnies to land right on his sticky platter. He is fully committed to this one. But the results? Total chaos. One unlucky rabbit follows the fake signs, lands right on the honey rock, and gets completely stuck. But instead of just leaving him behind to win the race, his competitors utilize some truly fantastic teamwork. They grab his arms and forcefully yank him free. Meanwhile, Jack is experiencing absolute solo misery. The bees he stole the honey from finally catch up with him, and while flailing in terror from this angry swarm, he completely loses his footing and begins sinking deep into the swampy mud, crying out for help.
Moving right along to Trial 3, the Riverbank Net Rescue.
Completely unaware of Jack's swampy defeat and his narrow escape from those bees, the rabbits keep pushing forward, reaching a flowing riverbank for the final swimming leg of their grueling triathlon. Now, as the fiercely competitive rabbits dive into the water, overtaking each other stroke for stroke, Jack formulates his third strike. He scurries up a tall tree overhanging the finish line, armed with a long net. Down below, he sets up an absolutely irresistible trap, a fresh pile of crispy lettuce bait right where the swimmers are guaranteed to emerge. All three rabbits hit the shore at the exact same moment. Exhausted and hungry, they immediately start devouring the lettuce. Up in the tree, Jack is grinning. He raises his long net, swings down with all his might, but right at that split second, a massive migrating stork flies directly into the path of the net. The powerful bird gets tangled, panics, and just keeps flying, literally yanking the screaming wolf right out of the tree and carrying him off into the sky.
Now for the grand finale, the ultimate carrot disguise.
After a terrifying, unscheduled flight across the forest with the stork, the battered, bruised, and highly humiliated wolf is dropped near the final destination. Jack has one final, desperate, and frankly ridiculous plan left. Thinking he's this mastermind of deception, he finds some orange wrapping and green leaves and disguises himself to look exactly like the giant carrot the rabbits are racing toward. He lays down right on the finish line, closes his eyes to complete the illusion, and waits blindly with his mouth open as wide as possible.
But fate, it had a totally different plan. An old, joyful farmer happens to be wandering through that exact part of the forest. He spots this bright orange shape on the ground and shouts, "Whoa, look at that carrot, it's huge!" Without a second thought, the gleeful farmer scoops up the heavy, disguised wolf, throws him right over his shoulder, and marches off toward home, completely ignoring Jack screaming, "Leave me, I'm not a carrot, I'm the big bad wolf!" And that brings us to the core of this explainer, the power of true friendship. So, with the villain hilariously carried off by the oblivious farmer to become an evening stew, the rabbits finally bound over the finish line. They're completely unharmed and entirely unaware of how many times they just cheated death. And because they ran so fast, jumped so far, and swam so hard, all three rabbits actually cross at the exact same time. After all that bickering and competing, they realized they perfectly tied for first place in every single event. Wandering just a few steps further, they uncover the real giant carrot safely hidden in the grass, and instead of fighting over it this time, they sit down and happily share the delicious feast together.
The moral we really want you to take away from this adventure is beautifully simple. The important thing is to have good friends with whom you can achieve anything. When they argued and raced, they nearly fell prey to the wolf. But when they paused to pull a friend from the sticky honey, they survived. It's a really stark reminder to replace selfish greed and bitter competition with unity.
Leaving you with this provocative thought. When faced with your next big challenge or your next big rival, how will you choose to run your race? Will you let a bitter competition divide you and leave you vulnerable to the wolves in the bushes? Or will teamwork and friendship be your ultimate prize? Thanks for exploring this with me, and I'll see you in the next explainer.